The subordinate of the martial Saint Herold arrived at the island, but as soon as he arrived, someone gave him a powerful blow to the stomach, making his body shoot backward, leaving a trail of energy. The blow was so powerful that he couldn't help but open his mouth and start bleeding. Warner's body fell several meters back. He placed his hand on his chest and his eyes widened in fear. He finally realized that the Society of Black Magic had allied with Dark Star from the beginning. Just before Warner could have another thought, someone attacked with a powerful energy projectile, piercing Warner's head as if it were a melon, and thus killing him instantly. It was the man with angel wings that we saw before. He had fired an energy projectile from his finger, and now smoke was coming out of it. Warner's body fell to the ground. The man closed his eyes and could not help but clench his teeth, since according to him, they were very weak. He and Lee were in front of the great hole, and behind them was a mountain of corpses. Just then, a powerful thunder descended from the sky onto the island. Feeling this, the man with angel wings turned around and his gaze fixed on the thunder. He could not help but smile upon seeing that he had returned. Lee started adjusting his glasses with his finger, and an excited smile spread across his face upon seeing that Herold had returned. A powerful martial spirit surrounded by a powerful energy emerged, and Herold's men began to run toward the great hall. Within the spirit was the martial Saint Herold. He started pointing at Lee with his finger, and could not help but become enraged upon seeing that they had massacred his men and destroyed part of the island. It did not take him long to realize that Dark Star and the Black Magic Society had joined forces. He was so furious that even if he killed them 1,000 times, it would not be enough. Upon hearing this, the man with angel wings began to gaze at the ground and couldn't help but smile. He used his power, causing his martial energy to transform into a powerful martial spirit with wings. He crossed his arms and, with a smile, mocked Herold, saying everyone knew how to talk, challenging him to come and try to kill him if he had the guts. Consumed by hatred, Herold did not hold back and commanded his martial spirit to attack. While the spirit's eyes were glowing, it clenched its fists and began charging at the spirit. The spirit of the man with angel wings also started advancing quickly, ready to attack. The fists of the powerful martial spirits clashed against each other, creating a great wave of energy capable of blinding anyone and shattering the ground into pieces. Lee took off his glasses, and his gaze fixed on Herold. His eyes began to shine with seriousness. He knew that he also had to fight because otherwise his friend was going to say that he had obtained credits without making any effort. Lee used his power, causing energy to begin to emerge from his body. His energy also manifested and transformed into a martial spirit, which began to stare at Herold with a calm gaze. Lee began to point toward the sky and concentrated, releasing energy. He used his power, forming a stellar constellation in the sky, causing his martial spirit to raise its hand. Not long after, martial fire began to emerge from its body. The spirit began to point at Herold, causing a powerful energy to emerge from the stars and strike against Herold's martial spirit. It knelt down and put its arms over its head, beginning to roar in pain. Herold's men were also injured. 2 of them were lying on the ground. One of them, who had bruises on his face, propped himself up on the ground with the help of his arms, and his gaze fixed on Lee's martial spirit. His eyes widened in surprise and fear. 2 martial saints were attacking Herold at the same time, so he thought that this time Golden Ring Island was going to be destroyed. The other man couldn't help but clench his teeth tightly and feel furious. Herold, who had his arms over his head and was defending himself from the attack, started observing Lee and soon realized that this was not good. One of the subordinates that Herold had brought clenched his fists and with a desperate gaze explained that the battle of the level 9 warriors was beyond their reach. He asked what to do now, as they felt totally useless. Lee's gaze fixed on them. He extended his hand toward them, and with a smile mentioned that now that they had come, they should also stay. He used his power, making his martial spirit attack with a powerful slap which crushed two of the men in the blink of an eye without giving them a chance to react. The attack was so powerful that they lost their lives. The remaining men fell on their butts to the ground, and their eyes filled with fear. Now that Herold was busy fighting against two martial saints, everyone else was going to be massacred. Herold began to stare at Liand with a furious expression, revealed that he knew Darkstar and the Black Magic Society were secretly working together. He asked if they weren't ashamed to attack his base. While Li's body was surrounded by energy, he extended his hand and his attention fixed on Herold. With a smile, he mentioned that Herold should remember that if one has the advantage to attack, one must do it to take the lead. He revealed that even if today they couldn't kill him, after eliminating all the high-level warriors on the island, Herold would not be able to continue fighting for the energy crystals. At that moment, Li's eyes widened in surprise as something caught his attention. Luang left the laboratory and arrived at the Great Hall, which was filled with corpses. With a confident smile, our boy began to walk toward Li and the others. Lu Sheng's eyes were shining with confidence, and his gaze was fixed on Herold. Li couldn't help but feel confused upon seeing an Oriental on the Golden Ring Island, nor did he know why he was so confident or why he wasn't afraid. Luang did not change his attitude, which was an insult to Li. He used his power, causing the hand of his martial spirit to begin descending upon Luang. Our boy remained calm, started observing the spirit, and did not move. Just before the spirit could attack, Luang raised a finger and placed it in front, making an intense glow emerge from it. Without much effort, our boy blocked the powerful attack of a martial saint using a finger, leaving everyone in shock. Lu Sheng's eyes began to shine, and his gaze fixed on Li with an arrogant smile. He asked if this wasn't interesting, seeing that Luang had blocked the attack of a martial saint with a simple finger. The jaw of martial Saint Herold dropped, and his eyes filled with surprise. According to him, this was impossible. Li, who was inside the martial spirit, was speechless. While he was trying to process the situation, Luang moved like lightning and, in an instant, appeared in front of him and began to stare at him. Just before Li had time to react, Luang reached out toward him and used his power, shattering his martial spirit into pieces, as if it were glass. Shang's attack struck Li's chest, sending his body flying out of the martial spirit. His eyes widened in fear and confusion, as he did not know how it was possible for someone so strong to exist. The spirit of the man with angel wings was flying, while on the other side, Herold's spirit was crouching on the ground. Shang's attack was so powerful that Li's body was sent flying several kilometers backward and crashed forcefully into the sea. Lu Sheng, whose body was flying, began to emit golden energy. The muscular man's gaze fixed on him. He was speechless upon seeing that Li had been defeated with a single blow. With an expression full of fear, he asked who Lu Sheng was and where he had come from. Lu Sheng's eyes began to shine with hatred. He turned towards them and, with a piercing gaze, proclaimed himself as God. Upon hearing this, the two martial saints began to observe Luang in silence, creating tension. The attention of Herold's subordinates, who were still alive, was fixed on Li. Their eyes widened in surprise and confusion. They were in shock, not knowing if he was really a god. They could not believe that Professor Neon's ridiculous deception was real. Professor Nippon also left the laboratory and arrived at the Great Hall. He placed a hand on the pillar and began to observe Luang. He was open-mouthed upon seeing that Luang had defeated a martial saint with a single blow. According to him, this god had great power. The devout Nippon fell to his knees on the ground and extended his hands. For him, Luang was the true god, and under his power, even the martial saints would disappear until they turned to ashes. Luang was equal to the god he had seen in his dreams. Lucia appeared behind him, knelt before Luang, and her eyes filled with amazement upon seeing that this was real and not an illusion. She was seeing a god with her own eyes. The man with angel wings and Herold deactivated their martial spirits, and their attention fixed on Luang. Both were in shock, not knowing what to do. Luang turned towards them, began to show a finger, and with a penetrating gaze, made it clear that of the two, only one could live. Upon hearing this, Herold's and the man with angel wings' eyes widened in surprise and confusion. They could not believe that someone dared to mock them in this way. Consumed by hatred, the man with angel wings clenched his teeth, thinking that this was a bad joke. Then he extended his hand and began to gather energy. His eyes began to shine with determination. Once he finished gathering energy, he extended his hand towards Luang and launched a powerful energy arrow at him, revealing that the one who was going to die was Luang. As the energy arrow was slowly approaching, Luang remained silent. Luang prepared to counterattack, extended his hand towards him, and used the technique he had learned called cutting the sky, causing a powerful golden energy to emerge from his hand, sweeping away the energy arrow. Just before the man with angel wings had time to react, Lu Sheng's attack reached him and cut his waist in half, separating his body into two. His eyes widened in fear as he did not know how it was possible that someone like him had been defeated with a single attack. Then the powerful martial spirit of Master Ding Keiyu appeared in the sky and slowly began to fade away. Herold fell to his knees on the ground, lowered his head before Luang, clenched his teeth, and showed respect for him, explaining that now that one of them had been eliminated, there was no need to kill him as well. Luang descended to the ground and began to observe Herold in silence with a cold gaze. Luang made it clear that even level 9 martial masters were still human and therefore could feel fear. He revealed that, in reality, he never intended to kill Herold since, after all, he had been taking advantage of Huanan for so long. If he killed the leader, it would be too cruel. Herold and his men knelt down and bowed their heads before Luang. With a piercing expression, Luang began to observe them and explained that now he finally understood why, when the Supreme Martial Master appeared, those from the army knelt before him. If the very sky suddenly descended in front of you, you wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure and would choose to prostrate yourself. And now, Luang was the same.